And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 5th episode of the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League podcast here on GShow Productions, brought to you by Mid Canada Fasteners Tools, your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. Be sure to check out their website today to check out more of their products, to take a look at their products, and also until the end of this month. Everyone, if you use GShow Productions with any purchase in store, whether that's at the Brandon or Winnipeg location, at Mid Canada Fasteners Tools, you'll receive a free Milwaukee Tool Mug with any of your purchases. Got to use GShow Productions, the promo code, though, to have that accessible. But yeah, we're also brought to you by Terrico, serving Manitoba producers for over 80 years. Visit their website and check out their great line of products at terrico.ca today. And also brought to you by Goaltenders, your goalie's personal video review service. Be sure to check out that brand's website at gordytumelsongoalies.ca for more information today. But in terms of the MFHL, or the MMJHL, as I should say, as I look for the logo, there we are. There's been a lot that's been happening in terms of games, as always, in this league. And GShow Productions was at St. Vital Centennial Arena on Thursday night last week for our first ever broadcast. And that'll be for next broadcast, which is coming up tomorrow, as I had that there. But just taking a look at the results from the past week in the MMJHL, was the Raiders Junior Hockey Club taking down the St. Vital Junior Victorias. And if we get to some highlights for that game, it was the Vics starting off on the wrong foot. Brady Jaquette turning this puck over, and it would be Samuel Senchuk batting it home off of the rebound for his 6th goal of the season to open the scoring at 1-0 for the Raiders. Later on in the first, not too long after, puck ends up getting by into the possession of the Raiders. It's a nice cross-crease pass from Andrew Denoon to Nate Goodbranson, but it wouldn't stop there for the Raiders.
The Vics now looking to break out. Heisman with a sneaky move pass, gets it to Jaquette. Jaquette up the boards to Heisman. Weird bounce, though, and that's in the favor of the Raiders. Scores! Misfortune for the Vics. Capitalization for
Davis
the Raiders
Koga
Junior
receiving a
Hockey
pass
Club.
from Rylan Kuksek after a misfortunate giveaway from the Vics. I should say unfortunate, but Brady Jaquette later on would score the Vics' second and final goal of the contest, and then some rough stuff at the end here as Connor Mitchell and number 7 of Tyler Dandino get into it. They would get into a scrap. You could see Dandino throwing him down there, body slamming him to the ice. Both would be kicked out of the game. Both would be assessed roughing penalties with not much time left. The Vics unable to come back in this one. They were already in a 3-0 hole, and the Victorias end up dropping that matchup, as you saw, 5-2, as the Raiders would end up tying them in the standings with that victory. And as we take a look at the standings at this point in the MMJHL, it was the Raiders jumping up in the standings, being able to move on to 4th place in the MMJHL standings. As you can see there, the St. Vital Junior Victorias falling to 6th in the standings at 23 points now. But speaking of the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, I had a chance to speak with their captain, Jack Oleksiuk, to talk about last Thursday's victory over the Vics, as well as the past week, and what's ahead for this club and his time playing as a Raider Junior Hockey Club player here on the MMJHL Podcast, brought to you by Mid Canada Fasteners Tools, Terrico, and Goaltenders. Jack Oleksiuk, number 24, captain of the Raiders Junior Hockey Club. Joining me next, Graham the GShow Forsyth here on the MMJHL Podcast on GShow Productions. Enjoy, everybody. Captain of the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, Jack Oleksiuk, joins this edition of the MMJHL Podcast. Jack, your team's coming off of a big 2-win weekend. GShow Productions was there on Thursday night when you guys beat the Vicks 5-2, a 3-2 win against the second place team heading into Sunday's matchup in the Charleswood Hawks. Talk about, what went right exactly for this team to have such an impactful weekend, getting 2 wins on the board.
I think the guys just really dialed in at practice last week. We went over a lot of our systems and everything, and I think that was really important to go through. I think we executed that pretty well on Thursday, and then against the Vicks, and then yesterday against the Hawks. I think that I think the bounces went our way and came out in our favor, and that was came out on top.
Yeah, going back to that game against the Vicks, you guys came out with a really quick start, 3 goals in the first 7 minutes, capitalizing off of Vicks mismanagement with the pucks, with a good forecheck, being in the right position to pick up bad bounces and capitalize off of the rush on 2-on-1s and whatnot. Is that how this team's been able to have so much success with such a good counter attack, and how you're able to make teams pay on the offensive side of the puck?
Yeah, we have such a strong offensive team that I think that right when we get that opportunity, we have a good way of taking advantage of those opportunities. And our guys have played together. We've been together for the most part for 2 years now. We don't have too many rookies in our team, and our chemistry is really well there this year. And it's just working really well for us.
This is a team that missed the playoffs last season, back into a playoff spot, 4th place after this past weekend through 22 games, 12-9-1, 91 goals for, 88 against. You spoke about the experience of this group being together for the past 2 seasons. Do you think that's one of the biggest factors, along with obviously the production on ice, but just having that experience and having a successful bounce back year from last year?
Yeah, I think last year was a pretty good learning curve for us. I think we kind of learned how much it sucks to lose. And we're trying to do pretty much our whole year this year is doing the exact opposite of what happened last year. And for the most part, I think that's working out pretty well so far. We could be doing a lot better, but we're happy with where we're at. The experience definitely helps out. Our team is the closest team I've ever been a part of. Everybody loves everybody, and it's a fun team to be around.
In your first season with this team, you boys ended up going to the semifinals, losing to the eventual champions and the St. James Junior Canucks. Beat the Vicks in that series. Just that experience, that taste of getting to play playoff hockey. Take me back to what that was like throughout that first run in your first year.
That first round against the Vicks was probably the most intense hockey I've actually ever played in my life. It was just seems like every shift out there, I was nervous to be out there, and that's a good thing. It was super exciting. That team we had. I think that team was good enough to actually win the championship that year, but injuries definitely didn't help out our success there. But that was it was really cool to be a part of, and I think that kind of gave me a taste of what it was like to be in this league. I'm kind of looking for that again this year.
So you've had 2 different types of experiences, right? Having some success, making it to the semis in the first year, and experiencing the losing of last year. Like you said, it's something that you boys don't want to experience as much this year, learning from it. This team right now trending in the right direction in 4th place, continuing to move up in the standings, winning the 2 games this past weekend. Do you see any similarities to this team compared to the first year you were in the league with that 2021-2022 Raiders squad?
Yeah, I definitely do. We had a pretty old team that first year I had. I think we had about 7 or 8 21-year-olds, and we have that same deal here this year. And I think that age definitely helps out the squad quite a bit. Those guys can provide leadership and advice for all those younger guys coming in. I think actually I haven't really thought about it, but now that you bring up that point, I definitely do see a lot of similarities between those 2 teams.
Yeah, and I mean, for yourself, you're having an outstanding year, 28 points in 22 games played. And I mean, big things happened for you off the ice before the season even started. I'm not sure how much you actually put importance into it, but being named captain of this year's team this season, talk about, the importance of that and how special that's been.
Yeah, it was actually, one of my brother's old best friends was the captain before me, and to kind of take the reins from him there after he left the team is it's a pretty cool honor to have there. And the Raiders have such a nice history and such a cool history with everything there. It's pretty cool to be a part of that. Yeah.
Could you describe yourself as a leader now in, having as many seasons as you do under your belt in the MMJHL? Would you say you lead more with your voice, your play on ice? What exactly makes Jack Oleksiuk the leader he is as a captain?
I hope it's both. You're gonna have to ask my teammates that question to get the perfect answer. But I like to try and lead a lot with my voice, and probably even more with my playing ability, and by proving that on the ice. I just want to go out there and do the best I can for the boys.
Speaking of your playing ability, Jack, I got to see it on full display on Thursday night. Pretty good with the pocket, as I should say. And I mean, you make some nice passes out there as well. So been on display this season, 19 assists, 9 goals, 28 points in 22 games played. You had 46 points in 44 games played last season. Obviously, the team having more success, but what's it been like for you so far this year? What's gone into it to hit another level, averaging more points so far?
I think that it's just the experience, like I said before, with those guys. Our chemistry is definitely there, and I think that we're just capitalizing on a lot more of our opportunities. I think I've played with a couple different lines this year, and it seems like all of those have been working really well. For me and for them, and it's going pretty well so far.
For this team, offensively, obviously one of the top teams in the league, top third in goals for per game. But defensively, there's still some work to be done. 7th in terms of goals against per game, and the penalty kill ranks 10th. But against St. Vital did a pretty good job of limiting the shots throughout the game. They only put up 28 to your guys' 27. It's been a team that's been outshot on average in games throughout the season. Could you speak about what you feel that the challenges are going to be for this team to improve on the defensive side of the pocket as things move forward here more consistently down the line?
Yeah, I think a big issue that we've been going through is probably our breakouts. We're having a hard time getting the puck out of our zone. And I think that the goals against don't speak to how good our goalies have been playing, because those two have been absolute rocks for us, and they're probably our two most important players by far. I think that we just gotta we gotta all come back in the zone and remember to stop on those pucks, and just really dial it in our spots, and do our jobs out there, and things will hopefully turn around in the right direction there.
Yeah, and speaking of, Owen Savoy was pretty rock solid in net in that victory against St. Vital, only allowing 2 goals in the loss. Against the Charleswood Hawks, though, you guys limit one of the best offensive teams in the league to only 2 goals. Only 32 shots against you guys put up 30. Still get an outshot there, but keeping it close against a team that can make other teams pay in Charleswood. Talk about how huge that is for this group's confidence heading forward, capping off that strong weekend, taking out a top-end team like Charleswood.
Yeah, I think the guys we were pretty pumped up after the game yesterday, and we just got to make sure we're coming into the practice this week with that same attitude, and going for 2 straight next weekend again.
This team ends up having Fort Garry and River East on the schedule next first game on the 15th, so on the Friday the 17th on the Sunday. These are 2 teams obviously outside of the playoff spot, but I feel like this as well as anyone. You can never take any team lightly in the MMJHL, no matter what place they are in, because any team could of course beat any team on any net if you're not ready to play, right? Could you talk about what the mindset is heading in against opponents like that when you're on such a high and they're on low? Is a bit of a trap game in that sense?
Yeah, you're completely right there, and you can't be taking teams too easily, and I think that's something that we've been doing a lot of this year. I think we come into games, sometimes thinking too cocky, and that's kind of come to bite us in the rear ends a couple of times. So we just got to make sure we're coming in there with that positive mentality, be dogs out there, and then hopefully this squirrel will help us out there.
How nice is it going to be to finish off the weekend at home playing in Seven Oaks against River East?
It's been a long time since we've had a home game, so I think we're all itching to get back there. I think it's been like 6 games in a row we've been on the road so far, so I think we're all pretty excited to get back.
I guess capping off that long road trip that this team has had of what's going to be the 6th game come Friday against Fort Garry. Can you talk about how huge that is, knowing obviously, it's not as huge as playing in the pros and you're traveling from city to city, but how huge it's been to go into other barns and get victories during this stretch?
Yeah, I think it's actually getting used to those, different ice surfaces and the boards and everything. It's a lot harder than people think. And I think, for the most part, our team's done a fairly decent job of trying to get used to that, in warmups. We're ready for the game time. Yeah, but I think we're all just really pumped to be back in our own dressing room on our own ice. And yeah.
One last question for you here, Jack. For anyone that comes out to watch you, I feel like you've spoken about it a bit, but what can they expect out of Jack Oleksiuk in terms of the product he'll provide out there for the fans?
Just a really energetic guy. I'm pretty agile. I like to use my feet and take advantage of that. I'm not much of a shooter, but I got to be working on that bit. But I'm definitely a playmaker, and I'm out there to be relied on PK, power play, and 5-on-5.
Well, 19 assists speaks for itself, leading the fourth place Raiders Junior Hockey Club in points, heading in to the upcoming weekend of action in the MMJHL. Raiders in Century to take on the Fort Garry Twins on Friday night, and then back at home at Seven Oaks on Sunday to take on the River East Royal Knights. Jack, thanks for taking the time, man, and best of luck this upcoming weekend for you and the squad.
Appreciate it.
We're just about to drop the puck. It's won by the Vicks, and we are underway here.
And that was Jack Oleksiuk joining this edition of the MMJHL podcast. And like you saw just there, and you can go back to the start of this episode, we showed highlights from the Raiders' win over the Victorias last Thursday. And if we take a look at the MMJHL standings once again, the Raiders sitting one game in hand, one more game played, as I should say, than the Pembina Valley Twisters with 1 point for that fourth place spot. St. Vital falling down to sixth place in the league. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. For the St. James Junior Canucks, they ended up dropping their second regulation game of the season, losing to, so we take a look here, the Stonewall Jets. 5-4 in regulation. The Jets get the win over the best team in the MMJHL. To end off their weekend. And if we take a look at the standings again, for this Stonewall Jets team, they are only 3 points behind the Railer Express now for 7th place, 3 points up on a playoff spot with a game in hand on the Fort Garry Twins. They are 6-3 in their last 10 games. Playing much better as the season goes along in the MMJHL. And if we take a look at the stats leaders, you can see a Stonewall Jet in the top 5 for points in Peyton Bateman with 34 in 20 games played. Most of that production coming from assists at 27. Tyrone Willen leading the league in points currently with 43 in 22 games played. Rylan Huging, a guest of the show in the past, is only 2 points behind him with the same amount of games played at 41. If we take a look at the goals leaders, it's Hugin leading Willen by 7. And then, as we see there, a three-way tie near the bottom of the top 5 between Ruben Goodbranson and Griffin Height. Taking a look at the assist leaders, no one has been better so far than Peyton Bateman. At this point in the season, with 27 assists, as mentioned, in the 20 games played. He's got a game in hand on Derek Weeb of the Twisters, who is 1 assist behind him. Brady Whiteley rounding out the top 5 there for point totals. Ruff and Whiteley, the 2 defensemen, showing up on this list. But taking a look at goaltenders, the stats. Last time I showed you Noah Gilbert's stat line, he was undefeated, but that is no more. He was in net for that loss against Stonewall on that Sunday game. He's got a .920 save percentage still on the season, still at 12 wins, 3 more, and better than anyone in the MMJHL in that category, with also a shutout on his season. Connor Murphy actually getting 2 shutouts this season, which is pretty great for the defending champs, being able to have their backup come out and play strong. But, a team that hasn't been doing as well this season, especially compared to last, is the River East Royal Knights. And I had a chance to talk to their leading point getter, assistant captain, in Aaron Neilson on this episode as the final guest in episode 5 to talk about, where the struggles have come from, what are some positives this team can take away from what's happened so far this season. About Aaron also, I asked him about himself and the type of player he is, and the upcoming weekend for the River East Royal Knights taking on the St. James Junior Canucks, who are going to be hungry to probably take him down. But had a great conversation with Aaron Neilson. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Up next here on GShow Productions edition of episode 5 of the MMJHL Podcast, brought to you by Mid Canada Fasteners Tools, Terrico, and goaltenders. Aaron Neilson joining the show next. Captain of the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, Jack Oleksiuk, joins this edition of the MMJHL Podcast. Jack, your team's coming off of a big 2-win weekend. GShow Productions was there on Thursday night when you guys beat the Vicks 5-2, a 3-2 win against the second place team heading into Sunday's matchup in the Charleswood Hawks. Talk about Rick McConnell, captain of the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, Jack Oleksiuk, joins this edition of the MMJHL Podcast. Jack, your team's coming off of a big 2-win weekend. GShow Productions was there on Thursday night when you guys beat the Vicks 5-2, a 3-2. And my apologies, folks. Seems like we've lost the interview there from Aaron Neilson. Can't find it. We'll be back in just a moment here. Stick with us. Sorry about this. And welcome back, everybody. So, have not been able to find that interview with where I dropped it, so currently exporting it again, and we'll have it up for you guys. Next, with Aaron Neilson, he has 20 points in 22 games played so far for the MMJHL's River East Royal Knights, where as we take a look at the standings once again, their season has not gone to plan. This was a team that finished second place in the MMJHL last season, bowed out in the first round to the Transcon Railer Express. Lost some key guys this season, but not quite sure anyone really expected this much of a drop-off with them still having, some good, decent returning players coming back. But a huge thing that you guys are going to learn from Aaron Neilson is losing some of the key guys that they did last season has had an impact in terms of some of the leadership on this year's team. Not to say it's bad or anything, it's just they're missing some key leaders on this year's team compared to last season, who ended up aging out and whatnot. But yeah, for this team, taking a look at the upcoming schedule, they will be taking on the St. James Junior Canucks on Friday night in St. James, and then they'll be finishing off their weekend against the Transcona Railer Express, two teams above them, of course, in the standings, St. James being the number one team in the league. Coming off of a loss, they'll be looking probably pretty ready to go in that one. And yeah, for the Railer Express, they've been playing a pretty decent brand of hockey all season long, for the most part, especially when they do end up having success. So those will be two big tests for the River East Royal Knights coming up this week, looking to get back to their winning ways. And we're actually going to end off with Aaron's interview, since there's been such a screw up tonight with it. So I'm going to end off this part of the episode, and then we'll jump to Aaron's interview to end things. But going to kind of end things here from me just being solo with saying we are going to be live again tomorrow night at St. Vital Centennial Arena for our second MMJHL game day broadcast. Live stream puck's going to be dropped at 7:30 p.m. Pre-game show at 7:20 p.m. We do currently have it slated to be shown on YouTube. This game may be free to watch. Just currently sorting things out with the pay-per-view service that we are going to be using this year. Thought I had it sorted out today, but ended up being wrong as I was going to set up this game. So just to play it safe, this will be on YouTube, but be sure to check us out on social media, as well as check back on our website for the updates on where this game will be shown, as things could change by tomorrow morning, and this game could be $5 to watch. But yeah, both of these teams, the St. Vital Junior Victorias and the St. Boniface Riels, yeah, I mean, the Riels coming into this one on a one-game losing streak, losers of their last game out, and the Vics losers of their past two games. The big thing I'd say for the Vics coming up is going to be you got to get off to a better start. They ended up being down 4-0 after the first period of Sunday's loss to Transcona, and as you guys saw, down 3-0 early on to the River East Royal Knights, and could not quite recover in that one in the first 7 minutes of the game. I might have said River East Royal Knights. I meant to say the Raiders Junior Hockey Club. Sorry, folks. My mind's just been all over the place tonight. We got another podcast coming up as well after this one, the Manitoba Female Hockey League podcast for episode 6. Going to have a rookie in that episode of the Winnipeg Avros and a veteran on the Eastman Selects. Going to be talking about the things that have been going down around that league and whatnot. So, yeah, stay tuned for that coming out at approximately or an estimated time of 10 p.m. tonight, following the conclusion of this episode. But yeah, before I let you guys go, I do want to give a special thanks. Let you guys go and watch this interview with Aaron Neilson, as I should say. But I want to thank Mid Canada Fasteners Tools, Terrico, and Goaltenders for sponsoring this edition of the show. Your support means a lot. And yeah, by the way, everybody, for Mid Canada Fasteners Tools, if you want to look to cash in, get something good for someone for free this Christmas, well, you would have to go spend money, but you can make your way down to Brandon or Winnipeg, one of the store locations for your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. And with any purchase you buy until the end of this month, use GShow Productions as a promo code. With any purchase, you get a free Milwaukee Tool Mug. So with Christmas on the way, approaching closer and closer, it's coming. That could be a great gift for you guys to potentially get someone for free without even spending money on it. But yeah, Terrico also, thank you to them. Serving Manitoba producers for over 80 years. sure to check out their website at terrico.ca today. And yeah, to goaltenders, of course, thank you for sponsoring us, your goalie's personal video review service. GordyTumilsonGoalies.ca is where you can find more information about what that website is. Want to thank all the viewers for tuning into this one or whenever you did. Hope to see you guys see you guys in the chat or wherever it may be. However, I may be able to tell tomorrow for our second ever MMJHL Game Day live stream in St. Vital between the Vics and the Riels. I've been your host, Graham the GShow Forsyth. We'll be back on Tuesday next week. Had a bit of a scheduling conflict, so aired this a day later. But we'll be back on Tuesday next week at 9 p.m. Central Time. Be sure to check out what the details will be. Now, that episode time may very well change at this point. I think we may be broadcasting the game that night, so we'll figure it out. Information will be on our social media pages and the pages in the description of this episode, as well as check us out on our website for more information about that upcoming game. Or that upcoming broadcast, that upcoming live stream next week for the MMJHL podcast at GShow.ca in the upcoming events tab. But yeah, Aaron Neilson, finally going to get him on now. I've been your host, Graham, the GShow Forsyth. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of this episode, this interview coming up with Aaron Neilson. I'll give you the salute. Peace out, and so long, everybody. Royal Knights leading score up next. Stay tuned. Okay, I'm sorry, everybody. So what we're going to be doing, unfortunately, we won't be showing Aaron Neilson's interview here tonight. I exported it, and it's still showing up as Jack Oleksiuk's interview. So yeah, we're going to be releasing that separately as a separate video on our YouTube coming up in just a moment here, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I guess that's going to do it for this edition of the MMJHL podcast. Sorry about this, everybody. We'll be back next week, of course, like I said, with an all-new lineup of guests. Stay tuned for the start time for that episode, as it may vary, as we will be at St. Vital, I do believe, for a game coming up. I can't quite... I don't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, on the 19th, they are playing against the Pembina Valley Twisters. Should be a good one. Hope to have you guys tune into that one. Hope you guys tune into the MMJHL podcast for episode 6 next week. Again, everybody, I've been your host, Graham, the GShow Forsyth, giving you the salute. Peace out and saying so long. Be sure to stay tuned on our YouTube channel for that Aaron Neilson interview. And yeah, we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.